Hello and welcome back to Delgado Adult Ed Level 3-4. This week's topic is around town. So our goals for this week are to use the past, present, and future tense in dependent clauses with when, after, and before. We're going to learn the vocabulary for locations around town, and we want to read and write about our daily lives. So just as a review, before and after, right? Before this chicken was born, it was in an egg, right? After this chicken grows up, it will look like this, right? So before and after, pretty easy. You probably already know that. And then just as a quick review, past, present, and future. With the past, we're using the ED ending, except for our irregular verbs. And with the future tense, we need to have a helping verb, which is usually will. It can also be am with the subject I. All right, so when we use these dependent clauses, we don't want to get too hung up on this comma rule, but we'll just put it out there for you. A dependent clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb, but it does not express a complete thought, so it can't stand alone. When we add in the word before, after, or when, by adding in that word, we are adjusting the sentence. We're telling you that I'm not giving you a complete thought. So that's what makes it a dependent clause. And if you have a dependent clause at the beginning of a sentence, you need a comma. If you have it at the end, you don't need a comma. That's the grammar rule with that. All right, so when is a little tricky. Usually we use when for a question. We say, when are you going here? Or when will you be finished? But in these scenarios with these dependent clauses, we want to focus on using it as conjunction, which means simultaneously. It means at the same time. So like I loved math when I was in school, right? So those two things occurred at the same time in the past, right? So we will practice using that today. So we have some images as usual here. And when you're in the slide deck, if you hit the button, the sample sentences will come up, and these ones are fill in the blanks, so we won't give the answers, but we will show you the sentences. And just here, which word makes the most sense to you, when, after, or before, and also think of your own sentences using when, after, or before to with this topic and this image, right? So we have several of these here for you. And again, they're fill in the blanks. Your teachers will work on you with the answers. And some of them have more than one correct answer. There's President Obama looking nice in the Walmart. All right. So fill it in. Think of some other sentences. We've all been to Walmart. We could probably say something about that. What about this? This is a perfume store. Looks very nice. I would like to go there. Fill in the blanks and think of your own sentences using when, after, or before in your responses. And this is for a lingerie store. What can we say about that? Okay. All right, so we're going to take a quick break there, let you talk about that with your teacher and classmates, and we'll be right back for part 2. So where do you go? So here are some different stores that you might go to. All right, so here are some different places around town that you might go to. Post office, pharmacy, doctor's office, bridal store, hardware store, lingerie store, sporting goods store. There's a typo there, excuse that. Grocery store, big box store, gas station, corner store, or clinic. This week we also added in some more vocabulary that you might want to use when you're making your sentences. So do you know where these places are and what they sell? We're pretty big consumers here in America, and so you probably know. With your classmates and before class to prepare to talk with your teacher, look at these different items and think about where could you go to purchase these items. So we have some sentence frames here for you that you could fill in. When I want to purchase food, I will go to the hardware store. No. When I want to purchase food, I can go to the corner store or I can go to the grocery store, right? So a lot of different options here. Just use these sentence frames with this vocabulary to kind of practice some sentences before class and with your classmates. We have here, as usual, sample sentences using vocabulary words. These are in complex sentences and they can be rearranged. So that might be an activity to do in class. I will go to the post office to mail my envelope after I visit the notary. But you could also say, after I visit the notary, I will go to the post office to mail my envelope, right? Either way is correct. So that's a good practice to do. And as usual, we've left that one for you to fill in your own sentences for yourself, right? And then this slide, we've started with the dependent clause. And again, you can switch them around to start with the independent clause. So when you go to the big box store, you buy too much stuff. We could also say you buy too much stuff when you go to the big box store, right? So we'll talk about that with your teachers and your classmates and play around with those sentences. Another activity for you to do with your teachers and classmates is to look at the inspector's schedule. Also missing an apostrophe there. Sorry for the typos, y'all. And so we have all the time of the day for his schedule and the different places he'll be going and the reasons for him to go there. And there are some more sentence frames for you to practice with to talk about what he did before and what he did after, and also what he does when he's there. So, for example, when the inspector is at the grocery store, he will check for rats. Makes sense, right? Okay. So, and then we have another activity for you to do here. Here is a map of the French Quarter, and we just put in some mostly fake locations here, and they correspond by color to your map legend. And use those along with these questions of what places can you go to? When will you go there? What will you do before or after? When you are there, what else will happen, right? So it's just to get you so this is just to provide you with a visual to help you develop your conversation with your classmates and your teacher, right? And again, we have some sentence frames. Okay, so these sentence frames and the word bank down here are just to go along with your map and these questions to elicit some conversation between yourself and your classmates. And we can use before, after, or when in these. And of course, you can make these more complicated if you would like. These are just some basic sentence frames. All right, and then I think the last thing that we have on here for you all to do with your teachers and classmates this week is to read this article that is about a real event that will be happening, hopefully, in October. And once you've read it and you can talk about it with your classmates, let's do a small writing to answer the question or talk it out. Pretend that you are going to the festival. What will you do after you get there? And what will you do before you leave? Right? So we have an example paragraph for you here. And that's all that we have for you this week, y'all. Thank you so much. Enjoy your conversation in class, and we'll see you next time.